Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm thrilled that you're with us today because this is going to be fun. Our guest today is a longtime Seek Reality friend, not a newbie. He's the wonderful, wonderful Father Nathan Castle, who's a leader in the field of doing afterlife rescue work. We've known Father Nathan here for about 7 years now, I think, ever since his first book came out, and I could not believe when I first met him that even this was something that the Catholic Church would allow. But actually, they support him in doing this work. And frankly, hearing that changed my whole view of the Catholic Church, I have to say. Father Nathan is a Dominican priest. He lives and works in the community of Dominican men and women that serves the University of Arizona in Tucson. He's a lovely, gentle, and a very spiritual man. And something like 30 years ago, he was recruited by elevated beings not in bodies to do spiritual rescue work with their help. As I've only lately come to realize, and I hate this statistic, almost 25% of people who leave their bodies at their deaths will go off track for a time when they die, and they usually do that by their own choice. So, our wonderful friend Father Nathan is one of those who's trusted to help to rescue some of these people once they feel ready to complete their afterlife journeys. We are in control much more than we realize, and we can talk about that. Before I first met Father Nathan, I already knew quite a lot about some more traditional kinds of spirit rescue work, and I even had experimented with, I like to learn some of this stuff and how to do it myself, so I had experimented with learning how to do it myself with the late great expert Bruce Moen. But I never would have dreamed again. I never would have dreamed that the Catholic Church would sanction something like this. Then in 2019, I read Father Nathan's great first book. You've got to read his books. His first book was called Afterlife Interrupted, Helping Stuck Souls Cross Over. And everything in it was completely consistent with what I learned during all my decades of doing afterlife research, so I knew it was the real deal. And frankly, it's so entertaining. That's why I say you need to read this stuff because it's entertaining. It's fun to read. That book was followed by books two and three with similar titles. I think there may be another one coming. We'll talk about that with him. Father Nathan's books are all terrific, and he has become a regular visitor with us here. Father Nathan, I'm so delighted you're with us. Welcome.
It's great to be back with you. Thanks for having me.
We always have so much fun when we have these
Yes,
visits.
we do. I was looking forward to this.
So what's new, my dear?
There's a couple of new things. One of them has to do with a topic we were talking about just before we went live with the show. I'm working on not only a new book, but I think some sort of multimedia package of materials around the Gospel of John. The thesis I'm playing with is that what if it's so different from Matthew, Mark, and Luke because it wasn't the same literary genre at the outset? What if it wasn't so much a short story as it was the script of a play? And so
Wow.
um,
Okay.
I'm working, even if that's not true, I think the experience of delving into it with others could be a lot of fun, and I'm already enjoying it. I'll talk some more about that. Then there's a little bit of the part that you just said about the Catholic Church and approval and all that. I am subject to an investigation that's beginning, so I could tell you a little bit about that. Um,
Church is investigating you?
well, yeah, something. I don't know what the right word for it is, but discernment, truth seeking, whatnot. But the work that I do and have been public about doing for what is it now? 8 years,
Yeah.
7 years, 8 years. I knew that there would be, qualms, objections, and so on, and there's some have surfaced, and so we're putting together a process to try to bring clarity to what I'm doing and maybe answer objections that people might have.
Now, is this because of the new Pope?
No, no, not at all. I don't really know the why of all of it. But part of it just has to do with afterlife communications at all. There are folks who believe that the Bible or the in the Catholic Church, the church's tradition forbids every kind of interaction between persons on the earth and persons who have died. And if that's the case, if that's an across the board no, well then what I do is runs afoul of their idea of what the church teaches. So there's that. But I'm encouraged that my provincial in Western Dominican province is in charge of this process, and uh, I'm allowed to gather some people that I think have important points of view, and I will just go with it. I'm quite confident that what my prayer partners and I do is a holy work, and uh, and then
Work is holy
Roberta, you
work.
can't convince everybody across the board that. I mean, look at you. I mean, you put a lot of wild stuff out there. I bet there must be plenty of people that think that lady's nuts.
Well,
Okay?
see, the fact that I am nuts doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything wrong with the work. I mean, the work is all 100% true.
Yeah, well, if I could high five you across the screen, I would. Because we just do what we do,
We
and
do.
I know that the Holy Spirit is guiding it, and I want to love everybody all the time, don't you?
100%.
Yeah.
And I
And so
love you're working. I love the fact that you're working with the Gospels
yeah,
because the one thing that is going to bring light to what is really a very dark world right now is the love and the truth of Jesus in the Gospels. That's the one thing that is going to make all the difference.
yes,
So if you're doing that, then you are truly doing God's work.
I am, and I'm loving doing it. I know that there's a new book, and this one I don't want it to just be a book. I want it to be something multimedia and interactive.
That's great.
And I was just talking to my grandnephew yesterday, who just finished college with a degree in film and storytelling, and he was saying, you know, what you're describing is really more of a video game. But I don't play video games. So he said, I wanted
Jesus
something that,
video game, I love it.
well, something that where people can manipulate the scenes and imagine themselves in it by, I want them to be able to, if it is a play, if John's Gospel is a play, I'd like for the person that I'm trying to reach to feel like they were the director or the set designer or the audio guy or the light, the blocking, all the things that go into putting a play. I'd like for the people that I'm writing toward to imagine themselves in it, not just as technicians putting on a show, but as human beings undergoing the kind of transformation that the author is trying to bring about.
All right, let's help people understand this. There are four Gospels
Yeah.
in the Christian Bible.
Yes.
The first three, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, all have what appears to be the same root.
Yes.
They're very similar. They're not the same, but they're similar in their structure. And John is different in a number of ways. And so your theory is that it was designed to be different.
It is, and I'm not that interested in proving that thesis as much as I am playing with the idea. I'm, 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 I have a degree in adult education in scripture, but that doesn't make me a scripture scholar at the level of that kind of question. I can read those people and understand what they're saying, but I always wanted to be more of a popularizer. I wanted to take what I
Yes.
was learning in seminary and make it not dumbed down, but digestible to folk in churches that aren't going to spend lots and lots of time the way that a seminary student would. So, can I go on for 3 or 4 minutes on
Yeah,
the
of course,
basics?
of course, I'm fascinated.
All right. Well, the primary thesis is that, you know, Jesus's death and resurrection is somewhere in the early 30s of the first century of the Common Era.
Yeah.
And none of the Gospels get into the written form that we have them in until about 70 or 80. So there's already a generation of people who lived and died, 40 years.
Arguably even two generations because
Yeah,
of the
yes.
fact they didn't live very long.
Right. So so mostly it was storytelling around a campfire and
Yep.
maybe eyewitness remembrances of things and so on.
Yes.
And
Passed down.
But then you go about 40 years out from Jesus' death and resurrection, a lot of the principal characters are dying off, in
Yes,
part
yes.
because they were being killed. Many
Right.
of them were martyred. And so there began to be that phenomenon that we have around elders, like at Thanksgiving maybe. Uh, Grandma's up there in age. Does anybody have the recipe for the pie?
Yes,
There began to be a sense of we need to get this stuff down in writing while we
yes.
still can. And so there seemed to be an impetus in the last decades of the first Christian century to get things in writing. Mark writes a really terse story that's very fat. It's like a explosion movie. There's very little characterization.
Yes, it's very short, terse, as you
It's
say, to the point.
action oriented. He hardly even knows where to put a period. All of his sentences run together. He's in such a hurry to tell the story.
Yes. Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but his organizational model of writing, and we're both writers, we have to choose a way to structure what we're trying to say.
Right.
He uses a road and a city of destiny. In the early chapters, he circulates around the Sea of Galilee, and one kind of people live on one side and another on the other. Jewish people live over here, Gentile people live over there. He does the same thing on both sides to show that he's here for everybody, and he's not just a little, religious denominational figure. But then he shoots up to the what we call the Mount of Transfiguration, and he meets two people who are no longer on this plane.
Right.
Moses and Elijah, who lived
Yes.
centuries earlier. And they talk with him, and it looks from context like they are cluing him in that his next mission is to go to Jerusalem and that he will meet a violent death there.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
I think it's because he's so universally loving. If you really do love an enemy, you make enemies.
What an awful thought.
Haven't you found that to be true somewhere along? Somebody wants you to
Well,
cuddle up with
yes, it
them and
often is.
hate their enemy, or talk bad about them or something. I just think
Yeah.
he's so universally loving, he just aggravated people to the point where they got rid of him.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's this road from about the middle of Mark, chapter 8, toward the end. It gets more and more and more ominous because you're getting closer and closer and closer to Dallas. When I
Yeah. To
when,
Dallas.
when I was very affected by the Kennedy assassination when I was in the second grade.
Oh, yeah, we all were. I was a little bit older, but yes.
Well, I was a Texan and a Catholic, and his picture was on the wall of our school next to Jesus
Yeah, yeah,
and the Pope. It
yeah.
felt like they murdered a member of the Trinity, and his kids were my age. We got this book that was called The Torches Passed, and it was a photo essay of the whole thing. And I just wanted to leap into it at all these different points and say, "Don't go, don't go," or put the bubble top on the car or whatever. The March,
Why didn't they do something about that? I mean, I think we all were ter He was one of my great heroes. I mean,
yes.
he was a wonderful president. 3 years is all he had. I mean, he and Reagan, there were different parties, but it doesn't matter. They were both great presidents, and they were almost identical in their policies.
Well, it affected me as a second grader, but I just wanted to know everything about it. I wanted to understand what just happened and how could that happen. And there was this book that my parents got that was this photo essay of the whole thing, and it reminded me of the Jesus story. He gets closer and closer and
Yeah,
closer and closer to the
yeah,
place where he's
yeah,
going to get killed, and you just want to leap in and say stop. And in fact, remember, Peter says that, "Don't go to Jerusalem."
yeah,
Remember?
yeah. Yeah.
And then he's told, "Get behind me, Satan. You're not now speaking godly words. You're
I
speaking."
remember that vividly. Yes, of
So
course.
anyway, I'm getting a little off topic, but the Mark is written in a linear style, and in the second half of it uses geography to make the point that you're getting closer and closer and closer to the explosion, to the climax. And then you get there and he dies, and then on the third day, it's very strong on everybody did the same thing. It's not blaming Judas or Pontius Pilate or King Herod. Everybody denied him is the way that Mark does it. He uses the word panta in Greek. Everybody did the same. and Peter denies him three
And
times.
Jesus said that's going to happen. Well, they're, oh, I won't do it. Oh, yeah, Jesus said you will. When before the cock crows three times, you will
It's
deny
very
me.
evocative, and it uses a lot of light and dark, and darkness for ignorance or confusion and whatnot.
Right,
Then you
right.
get to the Easter morning scene, and the women are on their way to do an errand that's already been done because this lady anointed him with oil at a party, at a dinner party, and was scolded for it. And he says, "Leave her alone. She's anointing me for my burial." He's a healthy man in his 30s, but she's anointing me for my burial. And then and it's like a soap opera. You know things because the omniscient narrator has told you, but the people inside the story don't know what you know. You know
Yeah.
how soap operas will have everybody that views it knows that the groom just slept with the maid of honor, and
Don't watch those sorts of things.
but are they going to find out? Is somebody going to the wedding? Mark is written in the style of an omniscient narration where the reader
Yeah,
knows things that the people inside the story don't know.
yeah.
The things they don't know is that he's already been anointed, and these,
Everybody when they want to rest and read their Bible, you're making it seem like a soap opera.
well, it is. It's fun, and if you wanted to go on my YouTube channel, I have long series of these that I did during the pandemic when we couldn't do anything else. Well, you get to the end, and these well-meaning church ladies are on their way to the tomb on Easter morning to anoint the body, and they
Yeah.
get there and they meet a young man dressed in white. I'm dressed in white. It's baptismal garment.
Mm,
We were all once wrapped in white when we were fresh out of the water, and it's the church getting a do-over. It's they all denied him, but it's the church saying he's not. Why are you looking for the risen one among the dead? He's not here. Go to
yeah.
Galilee. And then it ends with, but they went away and said nothing to anyone because of their great fear. And the Greek word is megalophobos. Doesn't that sound like if your doctor told you you have stage four megalophobos?
That would be sounds pretty bad,
It
doesn't
sounds dire.
it?
And it ends on that note. That's the last word of the gospel. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the early church couldn't stand the way that it ended so abruptly and so negatively that they added three other endings in the first 10 years. Uh, but anyway, you got that one. And then Matthew and Luke each take that story and they say, yeah, but there's no story about his origins because he's a young adult at the beginning of Mark. And so both
Yeah,
Matthew and Luke add an infancy story,
yeah,
and then they both have post-resurrection stories of Jesus appearing to people. Matthew takes that linear story, and I'm with my fingers. I'm taking a line like a string. If you make a string meet the ends, you have a circle.
yes,
The line becomes a circle. Matthew creates a circular story out of that linear story.
yeah,
He starts at the beginning by saying, "This baby that's on its way is going to be named I am with you." And then at the end of the story, Jesus is like Moses. The risen Jesus takes them up on a mountaintop and says, "Full authority has been given to me, heaven and on earth. Go out to all the nations and tell the good news, and know that I am
I'm with you
with
always,
you always until the end."
even to the end of the age.
So
Yeah.
it's the two, it's I am meeting, and the whole thing's a circle. That's how I got to start the Wizard of Oz book, my Toto book. When I heard that story, I thought, that's the framework of The Wizard of Oz. It's a prologue, a linearly driven story moving a road moving to a city of destiny, and an epilogue. That's
Yeah.
Oz. So that's where my first book came from. Luke does something similar, but then they're all three connected to one another.
They're very similar, but Matthew's the richest. The Luke is not. I mean, Matthew has the whole Sermon on the Mount.
Yes.
The Sermon on the Plain is not nearly so rich. That's
Matthew's
okay.
trying to appeal. By the time Matthew's an old man, most of the people in his community are not Jews. They're mostly Gentiles, and they never went to the temple. They never spoke Hebrew. They know what the kosher laws are, but they didn't live in a household where that was kept.
Mm.
So he's trying to tell this mostly Gentile group of people that you are not in a fly-by-night religion of the month. You're part of this old heritage.
Religion of the month.
Well, we're just bringing it forward. The God is doing new things in our time, but they're not utterly unrelated to everything God's done before. So he's trying to help people know that they belong to something rooted. Um,
Yeah.
but then there's John, and he's way off on his own. He starts with the word, in Greek, it's only one word, but it translates into English as in the beginning.
Yeah.
And so he's taking you back to the garden stories, he's taking you back. We have two origin stories in our Bible. On
Hmm.
page one is the younger of the two, which is the 7 days of creation. The second story, chapter two, is the 500-year older story of Adam and Eve. They're separate stories with separate histories, and an
Yeah,
editor
I
says,
remember. I mean, it's been a long time since I studied the Bible, but I remember
well,
that now that
I'm
you
trying to
say
talk fast and get it into a podcast, but
that's right. We have a leisurely podcast.
well, when as authors, those writers had to figure out how do I describe nothing? If you're talking about the world before it's created,
In the
what's
beginning was the word.
well in the 7 day of creation story, that one starts with the earth was a formless wasteland and a dark abyss. And God speaks across the abyss. And I live in the Grand Canyon state, and Arizonans have no problem imagining
Oh, yeah, you have abysses, abundant abysses. Yes.
we do. And so that author imagines the nothing that was before Earth was created was a dark, deep abyss, and God speaks across it. And the first thing God says is, we need some light in here. Let there be light, and the light appears. And then in the way it's structured, it follows the 7 days of the week. It's there are the first 3 days create stages with nothing in them. The sky, the sea, and the land. Days 4, 5, and 6 populate those stages. Uh,
Right.
and at the end of each day, the author stops and has God look at God's work and say it's good and very good. And in Hebrew, there's no superlative form, so you can't say best in Hebrew. You have to say good twice in a row if you mean best. So
What's wonderful is he always says it's good.
and it's very good.
Yes,
And so there's
always.
that story is absolutely certain that creation is good, everything in it, including your worst enemy. Everything that God creates is good.
It's
And
good.
but it also emphasizes finitude. Everything is finished, 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 finished until you get to day seven, and it's so finished that there's nothing to do on day seven except put your feet up. You know, God rests on the seventh day.
Yep.
Uh, the other story starts with the nothing, and the second story is a desert with no plant life at all. I live in a very verdant desert in Tucson, the Sonoran Desert. But if you drive just a little west of Yuma into Death Valley on Interstate 10 as you enter California, it is absolutely that desert. It's sand. Nothing else on it except now a bunch of solar panels. It's a great place to put solar panels because it's
Yeah, absolutely. And probably nothing else. Nothing but solar panels would grow there anyway.
yeah. So that anyway, in this story, the creator is sitting in the desert where there's no plant life.
Yeah.
And because God hasn't sent rain yet. But then water bubbles up out of the ground. And now there's clay. And God scoops up some of the clay and begins playing with it. And I do this at retreats. I'll put Play-Doh on all the places where people are going to be seated at tables. And I don't give them instructions because do you really need instructions to play with Play-Doh?
No, in fact, it would make it less fun.
Exactly. But people will pick it up and they almost always make a container. If not, they do nothing else. If it's a ball, they stick their thumb in it and now it looks a little bit like a cup. And if they keep going, they'll have a mug. Or you and I are old enough that when we played with clay as children, we probably made an ashtray. Did you ever make an ashtray?
Oh, I'm sure.
You make a container of some kind, and then a lot of containers are built to contain a fluid, and they might have a neck and a lip, like a bottle.
Yeah.
And then God takes the container that God has just made and puts it up to his own mouth and kisses it into existence, blows into it. So it's very intimate. It's very different from speaking across an abyss. It's
Right.
very intimate. So John's gospel starts with in the beginning. So he's making people remember that what's coming is related to what's been, but it's going to be
Yeah.
the eighth day of creation. It's going to be God starting the creative process all over again in the person of Jesus and you. And and then the second chapter is the only one that has the wedding at Cana. The other three gospels don't have that.
Yeah.
And the bride and groom are unnamed, and they have no lines. So in a play, they're not really not very important to the scene. They're a little bit of a backdrop. They're like this set. There's a setting that involves a bride and a groom, but in the forefront of these six stone water jars that we're told were there for Jewish ceremonial washing purposes because why would you need to be washed before you worship? Because you're dirty.
Yeah,
Because
well, because you're yes.
so there's a philosophical presumption about humanity and divinity interacting that presumes we're dirty.
Yeah, well, at least we need to be, but it's ritual washing. It's not, doesn't necessarily, you don't even need to be dirty. It's a ritual purity.
Well, what I'm thinking of anyway, and it doesn't have to be the be all and end all examination of that passage, but I just think Jesus looks over at these things that may as well have been mop buckets. They were there for washing your hands and feet, and they're
Yeah,
empty. And it doesn't say Mother Mary, it just says the mother of Jesus was there.
yeah.
She's the new Eve in that scene. And she turns to him and says, "They're out of wine." He says, what business is that of mine? It's not my time.
It's not my time. Yeah.
Just do what he says. And then he looks over at these vessels that you wash your hands and feet in and says, "Fill those up." They really may as well have been mop buckets. Just fill those up, and then we'll drink out of that. And I just love that because I just think I live in a religious world where some folks are told they're not welcome, they're not worthy, they're not clean enough. They must get themselves ordered.
Are they really saying that to people there?
We do it by access to communion, for example, who can go and who can't. Um, a lot of like I know a lot about the AA community, and sometimes they call themselves the church in the basement because they know they're welcome at the AA meeting, but Sunday's another story. It's not because of church rules necessarily. You grew up in the Protestant tradition. Didn't you get all dressed up to go to church when you were a child?
Well, yeah. But I don't, I mean, if there were children who didn't have enough nice clothes and didn't get to get dressed up, they were still accepted.
Well, that's good. Then you had a more accepting church than many because there were some that had more of a dress code.
Oh
Uh,
no, oh no, oh no. It was, oh, my dear Father Nathan, I went to a wonderful church. The pastor was so wonderful. He really was. There was nobody who was not accepted there.
well, I grew up in the Catholic tradition where we were mostly immigrant and we were used to being told that we didn't have the right clothes or that we smelled funny or, uh,
Oh,
you know, uh,
yeah.
that was just part of the of growing up. I was told I wasn't a Christian because I was Catholic. I got that all the time. Anyway, the in that story, I just love the fact that we drink out of the mop bucket. We, we and we have a good time. You know, Jesus saves the day. Who cares if the wine is cold
Yeah.
out of the
Yeah,
mop
yeah.
bucket?
Oh yeah.
It's the delicious. It's the best wine ever. And then we go on from there. There's a whole lot of other stories, but they're all and he uses this device that's called the beloved disciple. This character named the beloved disciple runs all through the story, but is never named. And I think that's because the author wanted us to understand that that's you, Roberta,
Really, I have that. That's not how I've ever seen it. I guess I always thought it was uh, uh,
John the Evangelist.
yes,
Or
John.
yeah, yeah. There's books written on what was it Mary Magdalene? Was it John the Evangelist? That's the prevailing view.
That's what I thought.
But there's also plenty of room for it just being a literary device that allows the reader to slip into the role.
I never thought of it that way, but that's interesting. Yeah,
Well,
possibly.
it's my favorite way of thinking of it, that I am the beloved disciple, and inside the story, where am I? Where am I placed, and so on. So, in what I'm trying to do, I'm going to be writing a book on it. And if any of your audience is interested in Tucson on January 30th and 31st and February 1st, Friday through Sunday, I'm
Of
doing
2026.
of 2026. I'm doing that. I'm doing a retreat at a really beautiful retreat center in the Sonoran Desert near the Tucson airport. So it's easy to get to, but it would mean being together with a group of about 40 people for the weekend and immersing in this topic. and
Well,
then
we'll put information at the bottom of the information
and
of
I'll
this.
do other things with it over time. But it'll probably be 2 or 3 years out before whatever this project is becomes a book and a video I want it to be interactive. Uh, do you know about computer-aided design?
No,
You ever watch any of those? I don't know that you watch much TV at all. You're a much too busy person, but do you ever
I
watch?
don't ever watch TV. No.
Well, I have it on a lot of the time, and I watch those people in Waco, that couple that does all those houses in Waco. Do you know them? Uh,
No.
Well, there's a whole genre of people that go into broken down houses and they walk in and they imagine, oh, if we just knocked out this wall and moved the sink against the window and whatnot, they reimagine these places. Some of them really dilapidated. And they use this computer-aided design where they can show you on a screen what this living room is going to look like, and then they could manipulate the furniture. They can say, or here we can move the window over here. A lot of people don't think of themselves as imaginally. Uh, uh,
They're not visionary about,
yeah, they can't see it, and
yeah.
they can't imagine it in their mind. They need to see it more tangibly. So I'm gonna my grandnephew, and I are working on maybe it could be something like a video game where
Ah,
inside a video game there's structure, but you still can manipulate the elements of it in different ways. And
what I think is wonderful is that you're trying to help people get into the gospel more because most people I find are they because I talk about the Gospels a lot, and I'm really I've read the Bible, the whole thing repeatedly, and just the four Gospels probably 20, 30 times, just cover to cover. I read it for fun,
yeah,
the Gospels, and most people find that amazing. They just think it's like foreign, but it's beautiful literature. I mean, the words, I love hearing those words come out of the Lord's mouth.
and they're
Yeah.
intended to be interactive. Yes, they're a book, and you can put it down after you read it, but it's the
But
writers
the
were
way he
trying to do
speaks is
that.
so beautiful. And
Yes.
you can hear him talking if you read the Gospels. But people just don't understand that.
Well, I'm going to add one more thing to the pile. This is my new project, but it's because I've written books before. I know that it's not going to be. I don't feel like I need to be in a hurry, and I don't feel like I need to impose a deadline. I don't even sell my books to publishers anyway. I self-publish because I like that. I own my property, and uh, I
Oh
can.
no, I did it. I once published with Doubleday. Never again. I would never ever go to New York again to be published.
Well, I've been told no enough times, and uh, I don't need that.
I was told yes, it's worse if they say yes.
Well, I turned down a yes too because I just didn't like the vibe I was getting off the people I was working with.
Oh, you were lucky that you didn't. Doubleday published one of my books. It was terrible.
Uh,
But now I have a hybrid publisher, which is the same thing. I get to keep my rights. But the the truly beautiful thing is if you get into and you feel really comfortable with what the Lord is saying, and you just read his words and and you're sitting at his feet and you're hearing him speak, it's the most glorious thing. Well, you do this.
I do, and I like to introduce people to that idea. If all they've ever allowed into their imagination or been taught was that this is stories about someone who lived long ago and far away.
No, he's right now. He talks
Exactly.
like a modern being.
Yes, and
If you finish Malachi or whatever the last book is in the Old Testament, I think it's Malachi. It's different, I think, if you're in the Protestant or in the Catholic, and I read the Protestant still Bible. But then you go right there to the Gospel of Matthew. Suddenly you're going from this old to suddenly you're suddenly in the 21st century when you start reading Matthew. It's amazing. He's a
well,
modern being.
I'm an older guy now. I'll be 70 on my next birthday, and I've
No.
a lot of what I've done in my
How can you
career.
be that old when I'm only 45? I mean, honestly.
I don't know, but that's the way it's working out. But I took an extra degree when I was in my 20s on adult education and scripture because I just wanted to be able to popularize and help people feel,
Absolutely. Oh,
and they don't need to be
absolutely.
intimidated that they don't know enough about it or they'd misunderstand it or something like
Oh
that.
no. Oh no. He's talking to you in a modern language. It's wonderful.
Well, and I didn't, I was in Bible studies in college where none of us had read them before, and we were um, sharing our ignorance with one another. I mean, it was sweet and lovely. This is my opinion of this, but we really didn't had none of us had done the homework of studying what the writer, who the writer was, where they wrote, why they wrote. And when I started doing it, then I thought, I want to spend the rest of my life doing this. I want to,
Isn't it? Yes. Because in Protestant churches and in Catholic churches, they take little bits of the Gospels and that's what they talk about. Those little
yes,
bits,
yes,
not whole sections.
yes.
I'm writing a blog post now about chapter 7, which is the first part of the Sermon on the Mount of Matthew.
Hmm.
And I mean, when you read that, just all of chapter 7, it's like it's just so beautiful. And there's you can hear this wise young man talking to you. It's so
Yes,
magical.
yes, I agree. So that's
Anyway, so let's talk about what we should be talking about, which is which is your rescue work. So just to recount what happened to you, you were told you were lured into doing this work. How did that happen? They sort of came to you and said, "Hey, we need your help."
well, it's in two parts, and I just preached on it this past weekend because we were celebrating All Saints and All Souls Day. Uh,
Uh-huh.
um, so I preached to three different congregations about growing up praying for the souls in purgatory because I was told that I had superpowers as a child. Uh, there were pictures in the paper of people who died that week, and we had newspapers in the morning and at night. I knew that I was taught that the Protestants don't know there is a purgatory, so they don't pray for the person's their loved ones after they die. That's what I was told anyway. And so
Yeah.
I prayed for the Protestants. I would go, if somebody was being buried from a Catholic church, I just thought your family's in charge of you. I'll pray for the Protestants.
Aren't you good? You prayed for the Protestants. Good for you.
I
That's
didn't want them to
wonderful.
be left out. That's no fair.
No.
You were doing the best you knew how, and if you're in purgatory, I want you to move into heaven. And so I
Yep.
would pray for whoever needed one prayer. Somebody has to be at the head of the line, and they're aggravatingly close to heaven, but they're not there yet. And my aunts were both Dominican nuns, and they both taught first grade. And one of them said to me, God loves everybody, but the prayers of children go straight to God's heart. Uh,
Right.
while you're a child, you won't be a child for very long. It'll go quickly. Pray for everyone and everything you can think of while you're a child. And then
Right.
she also taught me about purgatory and said, somebody needs only one prayer to move along. And what if it was yours? What if yours was the prayer that sprung somebody into heaven? You'd have a friend for all eternity. So
Oh, what a good idea.
I thought that was the low-hanging fruit. All I had to do is pray for the person at the head of the line, like say, next, may I help the next customer? I
That's
thought I
great.
was like a customer service agent in purgatory. I had the lights on. And then I would think, well, some sad soul just got there and found out there's a crowd. Nobody wants to go to the grocery store and find there's a long line at the checkout. You know,
For
you wish
sure.
you'd come earlier or later, but here you are. And so in my imagination, this was in bed right before sleep. I would pray. I would say, hey, hello to anybody that just got to purgatory. It's me. And would you like to take cuts? Would you like me to lead you up to the front? So I was doing that as a little kid, and then in my early 40s, well into my priesthood, that's the first time somebody came to me in what I call a contact dream and showed me a violent death, and I knew that I was being urged to help him, and so
Yeah.
that started this whole process that's still going. I have a news story I can tell you that's not in any of the books.
Yes, please
Um,
do.
Um, this woman came nearly a year ago, November 16th or September 26th of 2024. This is what happened in the dream. I dreamt a man was being dragged behind a moving vehicle, perhaps accidentally, and I awoke. That's all it was. I wrote it down. And then when we went into prayer about 2 months later, or 6 weeks later, we found out that uh, there were three generations of men that were on a cold day in the Great Lakes were going to go boating, and they were pulling a trailer behind a truck that the boat was on, and they backed down into one of those boat launches that there's cement
Uh-huh.
uh, uh, things that go down into the water. We had a boat like that when I was a child. You unloose it from the trailer, and there's a winch or something that you crank to make the wire or the rope go out. The boat floats onto the water. Somebody needs to get onto the boat now that it's in the water. Usually, you tie it to a post on a pier, and then you drive forward to get the trailer and truck out of the way so the next person can use the slip.
Right.
That's what was happening. And uh, dad was on the boat. The grandson is driving the truck, and grandpa's in the middle. So grandpa just was dealing with getting the boat off of the trailer. Then it was time to pull the trailer forward, but grandpa got his foot caught in something that was attached to the trailer. And when his grandson pulled the truck forward, it dragged him.
Oh,
Because it was a cold day, he had the windows rolled up and didn't hear the screams. And so the grandson drove some short distance away, dragging his grandfather.
oh no.
And the grandfather's head hit a stone and he went unconscious. He didn't die on the spot, but he died. All he said was some days later. All right. Um, so a very tragic
Yeah.
event, but it was really sweet. The guardian angel came along and we go into protected prayer. I use Saint Michael the Archangel, Mary the Mother of Jesus, the divine persons of the Trinity. I make sure that we're not just jumping into the afterlife, which some people still are nervous about, that I must be doing something demonic.
No,
Well,
no, no, no.
no, I called in all the saints and angels and the divine persons, and I'm quite safe, thank you. And anyway, so are my partners. Anyway, the guardian was just explaining from his point of view that he wasn't able to prevent the death, and he spoke on behalf of guardians and said, "When we're assigned to you, we understand that you're mortal. You're going to die one day, and that's the rules. It's not our job to prevent that necessarily." We might be able to help in sometimes in circumstances, but there's going to be a day when that's beyond our
Yes,
pay
it's going to
level.
happen. Right.
And so he said, I did everything I could to accompany him before, during, and after that event, and still with him still. And so he was ready to cross, but he said part of what was holding him back was that he had such a happy life and a happy long marriage and small town uh, Kiwanis Club and
Oh,
Little
yeah.
League. And he just had a wonderful life. And he said, and now my son and my grandson both feel responsible for my death.
Oh, so, so sad.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
terrible.
he said, I can't reach them. I can't make them change their mind, but I hope one day they will. Because when they look at a photo of me now, even if it's from a happy time, it's colored with the sadness of how my dad.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so but he was ready to move on. And he said, I know for sure. Do you remember that old country song or a folk song? May the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord in the sky.
Yeah.
Mama sings bass, daddy sings tenor, uh, daddy sings bass, mama sings tenor. About this reunion in the sky. He
Yeah.
he said, I know that one day we're going to all be past this.
Of
And
course.
when their day comes that they join me here, we'll have a good laugh about it all. But for right now, he said, besides, I was the one that was inattentive. He said, I taught my children and my grandchildren to pay attention to what they were doing. And then the irony was, I was the one that didn't notice my ankle was.
I goofed up. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was the one that goofed up. And he said, and besides, does it really need to be anybody's fault? Do I need to blame myself?
No.
Had an accident. That's all it.
Everyone goes, and I think if I were in his shoes, I'd prefer to it'd be me. I was the oldest. It's my time. I decide, I
Well,
live.
you're just about quoting it because he said, I knew that I was an old man. I wouldn't have been around that many more years, any way you look at it. And he said, after I passed, I thought, well, at least my passage wasn't very difficult. It was brief. And they
Yeah.
said there were a little bit of unsuccessful medical interventions, but they weren't for very long. and I died. And then he compared himself to his brother-in-law, Mitch. And he lit up talking about Mitch. He said, my older sister married this man, Mitch. And I told her, if you hadn't married him, I would have. He was just such a
Oh,
wonderful human being and a great lifelong friend. They lived near each other in the same town. They both had long, happy marriages. And Mitch got cancer.
oh,
And Mitch died a longer, slower death because of the progression of his cancer, and then he died. And he said, I missed him every day after. And
I'm
uh,
gonna go be with him now.
when we were to that point where we were saying, okay, this guy decided to go by his first initial because he said, my death is more recent than many you deal with.
Yeah.
And so other principal characters in the story are still here. And if they were somehow to hear of your story, you telling this story, um, I think I'd rather just keep my name a little anonymous. And so he decided to go by an initial A. And but then he said, when we said, "Well, who's going to come for you?" He said, "Let's be still and see." And he said, "Oh my God, it's Mitch." And
Of course, Mitch would come.
well, I want to read it to you because it's just so good. Um, uh, let's see. Uh, I think I'm to be still now and see how Mitch is going to do this. And there was a brief pause. When people shift inside me, I need a little bit of space for one to get out to slide to the side and the next one to come in. And this is still A. He said, "All right, Mitch is going to have some fun with this. He's pretending he's at the rodeo
Oh no.
and he has a lariat. He's laughing and he's going to rope me and drag me from place to place.
Oh no.
And if he tries to do that, I'll smack him." Isn't that fun?
Yes. People don't change their personalities
They
when they
don't.
go
And
home.
this guy was dragged to death, and so his brother-in-law Mitch is going to drag him into the afterlife with death.
Isn't that what a
Like,
riot?
he said he was kind of a car dude. He had one of the earlier Thunderbirds from the late 50s when they were small and sporty. It ran sometimes and other times it didn't. But even when it didn't, we might go over to visit it in his detached garage across the yard where he kept it. Now it's up and running and it's good as new. He's just saying, get in and we'll go for a little spin.
Oh,
Isn't that a sweet story?
that is a very sweet story. Isn't that wonderful?
It to me in Christian language, it's Good Friday turning into Easter morning, over and over and over. I've been doing these for 30 years, and it
Yeah,
doesn't matter if you were murdered or tortured or suicides, or it doesn't matter. There's love to receive you, and then you need to heal, and sometimes you need to change your mind in order to heal. Like he
yeah,
was saying, my son and my grandson are going to have to get over the idea that they caused my death because they didn't.
yeah, they
But
didn't.
as long as they think that, they're going to be sadder than they would if they stopped thinking that. But, you know, people have their own processes and it's not
Life here
just,
is so short and it's so beautiful and so precious.
yes,
We just have to love every single day of it and all the people that God has given us to love. And that makes it so glorious.
can receive all of it. I just was at a Richard Rohr conference in New Mexico.
Don't you just love him?
I do. There were 2,500 people there, and he's now in a wheelchair. They wheeled him out to
Yeah,
speak and stuff. But um, one of the things that he's famous for saying is everything belongs, the light and the dark, the good and the bad,
yeah,
happy days, sad days, and that if you have tragic days, uh, make room for them to belong. But they don't have to take over. I try to do some grief counseling with people and say, your worst grieving thoughts don't have to be the boss of you. You can
no.
accommodate them, and you can. What I do with mine is I say, okay, sad thought, you have 10 minutes. Ready, set, go. And
Okay, well, you can give him that time.
I use the timer on my cell phone, and I'll just say we're gonna. My little dog died not long ago, and he was really one of the lights of my life, and and he died in my arms, and so I just thought, where's Toto? I miss you, buddy, and whatnot. But I'll only allow myself about 10 minutes of that per day, and then I'll say, okay, we've got other things to do.
I won't have another dog. It's been a long time.
Oh, you want you? Oh,
Dogs are pain in a fur wrapper. You get a puppy, that's what it is, pain in a fur wrapper. I won't have another dog in my life.
oh.
Because there are plenty of dogs that love me, and I'm going to get back to them soon. So what the heck? They're all
Well,
waiting for me now.
somebody just sent me, I was thinking of getting one of those ornaments that people do when they have a deceased loved one and they get a photo that, in an ornament that goes in the
Yeah.
Christmas. I was thinking of doing that, and I got one in the mail today. One of a sweet lady that listens to my podcast had it commissioned by an artist in Texas.
Oh, isn't that nice?
And so I don't even have to do that. It
You know,
already.
I guess it's a wonderful thing to give grief a little time in your life. I just don't even support grief.
Mm.
I have room for only joy. I just have to. I just choose joy.
Well, I do too, but I
Joy
get all
in the
these people
people
that
I've lost, joy in the animals I've lost, joy in all of that. I just
it's a
keep the
disposition.
joy. The grief can go away. I don't care about it at all. I don't want it.
Well, a lot of people aren't where you are or don't know how to be how you are or whatever. And I get some of that, through my website because I deal with tragedy a lot. And I just say to people, I won't do ongoing counseling over the internet. I will give you 1 hour. You prepare for it as best you can and read at least one of my books because I think I can be the tow truck driver that can get you out of the ditch. But I won't,
That's a good way to put it.
but
Oh,
I'm not going to.
I
The
hear
tow
from
truck
grieving
doesn't
people
driver
all
doesn't
the
follow you down the road. I'll get you out of the ditch, and then somebody else can help you down the road.
I hear from grieving people all the time.
Yeah.
And I guess I can't I God is only love, and I just love God so much I can't grieve. I can't grieve myself. I just can't do it. I just
Well,
can't do it anymore.
well, I make a distinction between compassion and commiseration. Um, to be compassionate towards someone is to be with them in suffering.
Yes.
Commiseration is to be with somebody in misery.
I wish I could even feel grief. I wish I could feel it. I can't do it now.
Mm. Well, I just tell people if it seems to me that they want me to be with them in misery and they want to keep repeating a narrative that they told me several times already, I'll just politely say, I heard that when you told me before. And if you want, uh, you have an
But they're
hour.
still alive, Father.
I know, but
They're still alive.
but everybody gets their own
But
life, you
don't,
know.
I mean, I hug them and I say, well, virtually, and I say, oh, he's not suffering anymore. He's so happy. He's hugging you right now. Feel that hug. Isn't that a wonderful hug? You see, I mean, it's just they're with us right now.
Yes,
Well,
they
I
are.
mean, I miss my mother sometimes, but I know how happy she is. I mean, she's actually right here right now.
Uh,
And she's so happy. How can we? I don't know.
yeah.
You're a better person than I am. You really are.
No, that's true for a minute. But I know that we're both well made. We came from love. My dad
There's
showed me
nothing but
stories the
love
other
and
day.
joy in the world. It's
There
just
isn't. It's just well, there's lots of things that aren't joyful, but I try to live in joyful hope if I can't feel joyful just this second. I'll say, okay, I'm sad because my dog just died. But and so
I'm sorry. I'm sorry your dog died, but your dog is, you know where your dog is
uh,
right now waiting for you.
I do. In fact, I got a little nudge about that. But no, I just I don't think it's fair to demand of people that they be happy every minute of every day. But I think you can.
I
When,
don't demand it. I just try to share it.
all
I
right.
get much too much love in me for just one person.
Oh
So I
yes,
try
you
to
do.
spread as much as I can of
Right,
that
with
love.
blogs and podcasts and all the rest, and your law practice too, I suppose. Well, anyway,
It's all
I
about
just
love. I just spread as much as I can.
well,
But
yeah,
we
and
have
then I just
totally
try
run
not
out of
to.
time. I'm sorry to Sam because he probably is thinking, Roberta, what's wrong with you? But I could spend all day just talking to you. I just love so much talking with you, my darling.
We've had a good time. Our time is nearly up, isn't it? You're having to draw.
Totally overtime.
Okay, well,
What do you want people to take from being part of our day, sweetheart?
what we were just talking about is important to me that uh, you're well made. You came from love. You're surrounded by love, and even if it is a difficult day for some reason, push against that. Find some, and service can be a really good way to push against it. if you're fe
Find
having a bad
somebody
day,
to
find
love.
somebody to do something for. You know,
Yes,
that's
yes.
that's a good way out of that cycle of sadness.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point. There are so many people to give love to in the world. It's just, I mean, what you're doing is such a wonderful thing, my dear. When will we see another book? Any idea?
Um, Well, right now I'm telling new stories that could go into a fourth Afterlife Interrupted book, but I'm doing that on my podcast instead of putting them in a book. So
Yeah.
I have about 5 or 6 stories that are not in any of the books that are now archived on the podcast. People go to the Joyful Friar podcast and then just play around with it, go around through the
And
archive.
we'll put all of this at the bottom of the informational ad that's part of this episode. So people will be able to easily find that podcast. But
And if
this,
anybody were inclined, I'm willing to travel. I would come to your town if you found me a venue, you found me an audience, I'd be happy to do that.
okay, and we'll put contact information too there. So this is just a delight. Just a moment. I just have to tell everyone who our next guest will be, and I'll be
Okay.
right back, darling. This is just so much fun. I just love talking with my wonderful friend, Father Nathan. I'm so sorry we've come to the end of our time and past that. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm so happy you could be with us today. Never forget, my darling friends, that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And when you really understand what that means, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be David Cunningham, and he'll be with us for the first time. He has written a really surprising book called Your Love Does Matter. It's a journey to a new consciousness and expanding your love footprint. David is a transformational teacher, a spiritual practitioner, and an advocate for all humanity. And he has spent more than 30 years as a senior program leader with Landmark Worldwide, where he's helped more than 500,000 people to unlock new levels of freedom, authenticity, and love. He founded the Love Matters Collaboration, which is a movement anchoring love as the preeminent way of being. So, as you can see, he's really into love, so am I. Please be sure to join us next week. And this week, our guest has been our wonderful friend, Dr. Nathan Castle. He's been with us for the 12th, but certainly not the last time. Father Nathan is one of the people I really admire most in the world. He's a Dominican priest who was chosen by Spirit more than 30 years ago to do rescue work. And I'm sorry we didn't talk more about rescue work, but we just like to talk about all these things. And he, like me, is very into Jesus and what Jesus taught, which to me is the most important thing. But he helps people who, for one reason or another, haven't fully transitioned, are afraid to, or don't feel worthy for some reason to go straight home. And he has been able in so many ways to help those people. He's into helping, which to me is the most noble and wonderful thing we can do. Father Nathan also is a great favorite among Seek Reality listeners that I hear from, and you can see why. And I'm sorry, but this is all the time we have to talk. So please have a wonderful week. Enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you most of all in this entire universe. You in particular, are infinitely, eternally, perfectly, and forever loved.